welcome to the March 2021 WSAC Planning Commission meeting. We continue to meet via teleconference pursuant to Governor's Executive Order N2920. And so we are participating via Zoom conference to reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Members of the public have been invited to watch the meeting via Wave Cable on our local channel 20 and via the city's website. Members of the public have also been invited to participate via the Zoom platform. Tonight's agenda and all agenda item materials are available on the city's website on the Planning Commission page. All public comments submitted by 5 p.m. via email to the Planning Commission clerk are available for consideration and are posted on the city website, along with the agenda and link to the live streaming video of this meeting. Additionally, members of the public who are participating via Zoom may make verbal comments during the meeting. This is a new feature for Planning Commission meetings and provides an additional opportunity for the public to participate. The Commission clerk will note the commenters for each item. With that, we'll proceed to tonight's agenda. First item is swearing in of the Planning Commission members. So, Mr. Tilley.
So I will actually be taking that. So if I could have all of our new planning commissioners raise their right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Teresita Sablan,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
do solemnly swear I will
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the United States. Do we need to do this unmuted?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe we should start over.
Yeah.
Let's
Sorry.
try it again. All right. I state your name.
I, Sabrina DeMeo Lockhart,
Deanda.
Do solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Do
solemnly
solemnly
swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United
States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California
California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies,
All
foreign
enemies,
and
foreign and
domestic,
domestic.
That I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I will bear
faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California.
Of the State of California.
That I will take this allegiance or obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion.
That
I will take this
obligation
freely
Freely.
any purpose of
mental
evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And that I will
will fully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
And about to enter.
And that's it.
That was very official.
Yes.
Okay, so turning to item 1B, we have the election of the Planning Commission Chair and Vice Chair for 2021. So for this, I think we could have multiple nominations for both of the positions, and anyone can nominate from the floor.
So here's how this would work. We will tonight. I asked Commissioner Sablan to sort of be our acting chair as a returning Planning Commission member, at least to get the meeting kicked off. So what should happen is she will take nominations and second for chair, and then there will be a vote, and whoever the winner of that vote is will then take over the meeting at that point as chair, and then conduct the election for vice chair. And then once that is voted on, then we'll proceed to the rest of our agenda tonight. So Chair Sablan, it's up. Now's the time to take nominations, and each nomination would need a second.
Okay, so any nominations? Should we use the raise hand feature, Mr. Tilley?
Yeah, so overall, that's probably most helpful for the chair to, for anyone to use the raise hand function if you can remember to do so. It's not essential, but it does help.
I'm trying to look at, I don't know if I have that reaction as part of mine to do a raise hand.
I don't think I do as well.
If you guys click reaction on the bottom, it says raise hand under all the different reactions.
I don't see that.
Okay.
I only see 6 reactions when I click it.
Same with me.
Let's see. Commissioner
I have the free version.
Lockhart did. I'm not sure how I can't find it on mine either. I used to be able to.
Oh, I have a paid version.
Oh, I have the paid version too, so I don't know if that makes a difference.
I guess you have to have the paid version to raise your hand. No. So we have
I do see one hand up from
Commissioner Lockhart.
yes.
Well, seeing that Chair Sablon in our first 7 minutes of convening has done an excellent job keeping us organized, I hereby nominate Chair Sablon, Acting Chair Sablon as chair.
And I would second.
So, Mr. Tilley, do we take other nominations or do we vote on
No,
this?
you should ask if there's any other nominations.
So do we have any other nominations from the commissioners? Okay. I don't know if people just can't raise their hand because they haven't paid for Zoom. So, okay. So seeing none, I guess we will take a vote. So, Mr. Clerk, can you do the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Esquivel,
Aye.
Commissioner Hirsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart,
Aye.
Commissioner Steger,
Aye.
Commissioner Berlander,
Aye.
Commissioner Deanda,
Aye.
Chair Sablon.
Aye. Or should I abstain? Is that like some kind of not neutral? Okay.
It's
Aye.
entirely up to you.
You get to vote for yourself.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the vote of confidence, everyone. So moving to the vice chair, do we have any nominations from the commissioners?
Well, given that Commissioner Berliner and Chair Sablon are the only 2 returning commissioners, based off their experience, I would nominate Commissioner Berliner if she's interested in the position.
I second.
We have a nomination and a second for Commissioner Berliner. Do we have any other nominations for vice chair commissioners? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Lockhart,
Aye.
Commissioner Steger,
Aye.
Commissioner Berliner,
Aye.
Commissioner Deanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Esquivel,
Aye.
Commissioner Hirsch,
Aye.
Chair Sablon.
Aye. So Vice Chair Berliner will assume vice chair for 2021. Congratulations. Okay, so that's all closed, right, David?
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to part 1C on the agenda. Mr. Clerk, do we have any comments from the public on items not on the agenda?
We have no public comment at this time.
Okay, 1D, correspondence and staff communications from the Planning Commission Secretary. Mr. Tilley.
Yes, thank you, Chair Sablon. Congratulations to you and Commissioner Berliner for stepping up and assuming the roles of chair and vice chair. Those are very important roles throughout the year and how we conduct meetings. So I'm excited about getting us going this year, and I also obviously like to extend a welcome from staff to all, especially to all of our new commissioners this year. I have enjoyed getting to have some good dialogue with almost all of you so far, and I'm hoping to get to the rest of you as soon as we can, but I'm optimistic that we're going to have a good year this year. And so welcome to our first meeting of 2021.
Yes, welcome everyone. Should we just have everyone introduce themselves and maybe say what part of Westack they're from, just for the public?
I think that's fair. If commissioners are so inclined.
Hi, everyone. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aurea. I was on the Planning Commission last year and the year before, and I live in the Newport area.
So I'll just call I'm by who's on my screen. So Commissioner Hirsch, you're gonna go next.
Thanks, Chair Sablon, and hi everyone and the neighbors in West Sacramento watching this Zoom tonight. My name is Alex Hirsch. I am new to the Planning Commission, but before this served as chair of the city's Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Commission for the last 3 years, and I am a resident of the Newport neighborhood.
And Commissioner Stigler.
Thank you, Chair Sablon. My name is Brian Steger, and I am also new to the Planning Commission. I am a resident of West Sacramento, and specifically, I believe it's called the River Landing development here in Southport. Thank you.
Commissioner Lockhart.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chair Sablon. My name is Sabrina DeMeo Lockhart. My family and I have lived here for almost 20 years, and we lived in the Lady Street, and a few years ago, we moved to Bridgeway Lake. And thank you for the opportunity. This is my first time serving on a city commission.
Commissioner DeAnda.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to be here. Excited to be able to participate on this commission. I reside in the Bridgeway Lakes area of West Sacramento and have been a long-time resident of West Sac.
Commissioner Esquivel.
Hi, good evening. Really honored to be able to help serve our city in this capacity. I live in the Southport area, and I have also had the privilege of serving as the vice chair on the Parks and Recreations Committee. So again, I'm just really excited to be able to serve our community with all of you.
So yeah, excited for the new year, excited for all the new faces and looking forward to the new year. I'm Teresita Sablon. I go by Chech, and I live in the State Streets. Okay. So with that, we'll move on to item 1E. So if any of the commissioners have any ex parte communications to disclose for any matters on the agenda, now is the time to do so. So if you do have something to disclose, please do so.
I'll go first. Again, Brian Steger. I did this afternoon in preparation for this commission meeting. I had the opportunity to meet with the applicant on agenda item 4 regarding the plan development permit for the expansion of the Holiday Inn Express. The applicant and I met on site, discussed the proposed plan, and I was able to tour the property as well as see the site for the proposed construction. And so that concludes my disclosure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move to the consent agenda. If no one wants to pull an item, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I was going to ask a question. Can I do that real quick? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead. So for the minutes from the December 3rd meeting, can everyone vote on that? Because only Commissioner Sablan and I were there.
Yes, this is actually comes up every 2 years when we have a changeover in the commission with new members. So Andreas, would you like to address that, please?
Since we've only got 2 returning members, and if everybody else were to abstain from this, I think we would never come up with enough votes to have approved minutes for that meeting. And so if the 2 members don't have anything to object to and any other commissioners are comfortable with supporting their colleagues' recommendation to approve the minutes, if that's the direction you're going on this, then I think it would be okay for everybody to vote on this one.
Okay, great. I have no objections to the minutes, so I just wanted to double check.
Nor do I. So I think, so we have a motion and a second. So Mr. Clerk, can you please do a roll call?
Commissioner Berliner,
Aye.
Commissioner DeAnda,
Aye.
Commissioner Esquivel,
Aye.
Commissioner Hirsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart,
Aye.
Commissioner Steger,
Aye.
Chair Sablan.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. And okay, moving on to item 4 on our regular agenda. Public hearing regarding plan development permit for the proposed expansion of the Holiday Inn Express Hotel at 2761 Evergreen Avenue. I believe this is Mr. Laffey's item.
Yes, Seamus
Yes,
will
good
do the
evening,
presentation
Chair.
on this one.
Yes, good evening, Chair Sablan and members of the commission. This item before you tonight is to facilitate an 18-room expansion to the existing hotel at 2761 Evergreen Avenue. The property is zoned commercial highway and is within Plan Development Overlay 44. The neighboring properties are all used for industrial and commercial purposes, and the site is adjacent to the freeway. Staff recommends the commission approve the requested PD permit for an alternative parking requirement that is lower than the standard 1 stall per guest room requirement. The existing hotel has 55 rooms, and with the proposed expansion, there would be a total of 73 rooms and 50 parking stalls on site. The applicant has indicated that only 1 staff member is on site in the evenings and the overnight hours. And once the cleaning staff arrive during the daytime in the morning, many of the guests have already left. The applicant has also indicated the hotel will operate a valet service during peak booking periods to accommodate additional parking. And Mr. Patel will go into that. The applicant is available to go into that as well in their presentation. Portions of Evergreen Avenue are also available for overflow parking in the rare occurrence that is needed. And the agenda report includes a parking survey that the applicant conducted in the fall of 2019 and in the first few months of 2020. This survey was done late in the evening, around 10, 11 o'clock each night after all the guests had arrived. Included in this request, in addition to the alternative parking standards, the PD would also allow for the cumulative floor area ratio on the 2 properties of PD 44 to be 0.51 rather than 0.4. So floor area ratio is a development tool to regulate the overall massing on a site, and staff recommends approval of this request given that the property is adjacent to the freeway and other commercial and industrial uses, and the additional building area will be of a minimal effect to the neighboring properties. So this concludes my staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also on the call to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laffey. I think with that, we'll open the public hearing. And then, Mr. Clerk, do we have any public comments on this item?
There's no public comment on this item.
Okay, and
Or the applicant is on the call tonight and may wish to provide input as well.
And does he have a presentation?
No, we don't.
I don't believe he has anything formal.
If there's any questions, we have an architect on the line, and his name is Josh, and he always can answer that too.
Sir, can you identify yourself, please, just for the record?
My name is Suresh Patel, I'm a general manager and owner of Holiday Inn Express in West Sacramento.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. I think
Thank you.
With that, I'll open up to questions to the commissioners. Anyone have any? Okay. Vice Chair Berliner, I see you have your hand raised.
Commissioner Hirsch kept raising his hand like this, so I'm going to let him go first because I still need to to gather my thoughts, but I do have questions.
Okay, yeah, he wasn't in my screen. Okay, Commissioner Hirsch.
Thanks, Chair Sablon and Vice Chair Berliner. I'll try and figure out a better way than maybe just raising my hand for right now until I have the hand raise feature. I have a couple of questions. Some of them, maybe just more educational since I'm new to the commission, so trying to get a better understanding, and then some specifically for the applicant. But my first question is, this is dealing with the floor area ratio and allowing an expansion of it for the applicant. So my question to staff is if you could go into a little detail about, what the purpose of a floor area ratio is and whether this expansion of the floor area ratio in this case would be something far different from what's found in other parts of the city.
Seamus,
yes, so
take that one. I may follow up on it a little bit too.
Yeah, floor area is it's a very kind of basic tool to, it's a standard for the overall massing of a site. So it's based off of the site's square footage and the square footage of the building, and it's a ratio. So let's say you have a 10,000 square foot lot and you have a 10,000 square foot building, the floor area ratio would be 1-to-1. If you were to have a 20,000 square foot building on a 10,000 square foot lot, it'd be an FAR of 2. And so it's a pretty blunt tool just for controlling the overall massing of a site. And that is combined with setbacks and density and other zoning tools to really kind of facilitate what kind of design we want to see on a site. So for this project in particular, the Plan Development Overlay 44 has a cumulative FAR of 0.4 that's allowed. That includes that gas station property there on the western side. And the gas station site itself has a very low FAR, so that FAR from that site was transferred over to the hotel site when this was originally developed. So going from 0.4 to 0.51, it really is not that big of an increase. If you were to look at if you were outside of the PD 44 and just in a regular commercial highway zone, the FAR maximum is 0.5. 0.5. So this is like just a tiny bit over that. But we have areas in the city that are much higher FAR than that. And because this is close to the freeway and there aren't any residential uses immediately adjacent to this hotel, staff is okay with the increase in the FAR.
Yeah. As Seamus mentioned, FAR, max FARs is a bit of a blunt tool. And, but the trade-off for having that is if we didn't have that type of tool, we would probably have to do, custom approvals on every single project or building, that anybody ever wanted to build. And so we don't want to over-regulate everything. Hotels typically have a high FAR because they can be on small lots. They typically, especially in this area, don't need a lot of parking. A 0.5 FAR is very common. You'll see things even much higher than that in some areas. So it's a mathematical computation on paper. But here when we're in front of you with the real project, then we can look beyond just that pure math and look at all the other factors that go into it. Despite the proposed increase in FAR, we're still under the height limit. We're still meeting the setbacks and other site development criteria. The Cliff Notes history on this one was my very first project when I came to the city many moons ago. So and our applicant tonight has been the owner this whole time. we didn't have some of the tools in the toolbox back then that we have, these days. So the purpose of putting that plan development overlay on both parcels was so that we could do FAR cumulatively between the two properties, noting that the gas station is a fairly large property, but it has really just the small convenience store building and the car wash tunnel. But it says it has a very low FAR, probably, I don't know, 0.15, something, in that range. So if you add the two together, they're still well within our standards, especially as we look at them today, versus how we did back then, which I think was about 2001, if I'm not mistaken, when this went through originally. So we're dealing with a little bit of a legacy here of, tools we used then. But really what we're proposed to you tonight is much more consistent with how we view these types of matters now and in this time in 2021 and beyond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Laffey and Mr. Tilley. It's really helpful to provide that context of where this fits in. And the second area that I was looking at when it came to this project was the change to the parking ratio. And, when I first saw it, my thought was one thing, but then as I read through the staff report and I saw that the applicant had a really, really great job with this really detailed parking count analysis showing that for the most part, very rarely is there 100% occupancy of all the parking spaces. And the explanation of this being a hotel that mostly caters to business guests and to carpool or who take various ways of not occupying the entire parking lot. It helps me feel comfortable where I'm leaning, knowing that there is plenty of data backing up the request. But my question is, and this is again to city staff, right now the requirement is one parking space for one room. And I see that even with this change, there still would be much more than 0.5 parking spaces for one room. So is that pretty typical of the city's requirements for hotels in urban areas?
Yeah, that's accurate. So in our more urban areas of the city and along West Capitol Avenue, the requirement is 0.5 parking stalls per guest room. So while they're going less than the one per guest room for this specific site, if you were to go just a few blocks over into our mixed use corridor zone, they'd be well above the 0.5 per guest room requirement.
Yeah, and the parking standards that we have are just that, they're parking standards. Much like the FAR, there's some science behind them. But one of the reasons why we asked, when the applicant first approached us about this expansion some time ago now, we asked them to collect that parking information because we really want to know what was happening out there in the real world. And fortunately, they were able to do that because little did we know a few months later, COVID would come and probably turned everything kind of upside down. So we really, since we knew we were going to have to come to the Planning Commission eventually on this matter, we wanted to have real world information, for you for the site to be for additional context and to, help with the decision, based on real world conditions and not just what the piece of paper, in the zoning code, says. That's a guide for us. But here we have the opportunity to consider real world factors here where maybe some of those, across the board, one size fits all standards, maybe they don't fit this particular matter 100%. So the Planning Commission has the ability based on what's before you to maybe consider something a little different than what the fundamental standard is, which doesn't necessarily account for all real world factors.
Oh, I love that because my next question is just making sure for myself in terms of the real world factors, by reducing the number of parking spaces slightly, does that affect in any way the required spaces for disabled parking or electric vehicles or motorcycles on the applicant's property?
So the ADA parking stalls are included in the overall parking count. as well as electric vehicles. So the city requires that any new parking lot or modifications to a parking lot, whatever is being modified, meets the EV charging requirements of 1 EV charger for every 5 parking stalls. There are not any motorcycle parking requirements, but there is a available 5% reduction in the zoning code if a motorcycle stalls are provided.
That's good to know. My final question, and this, forgive me, sort of comes from the lens where I was on the city's transportation commission for the last 4 years. I'm a big fan of alternative modes of transportation. So even though we're reducing parking spaces, knowing that the city has great ride shares and bike shares, I'm fully confident that there's plenty of opportunities for hotel guests to find other means of transportation to get around the city in a cleaner, more green way. But I wanted to ask Mr. Patel, the applicant, because I noticed in the staff report that I believe the letter from Mr. Patel to the city referenced a proposed bike ride share program located on the site. If Mr. Patel could elaborate on that just a little bit more.
Yes, Joe. I don't know what specific company we can contract with them, but I think I've seen that there are a few company in West Sacramento. They have on site, they provide the space for the ride sharing, and we do have a specific place in the front, so the guest allowed to go, without any concern.
No, really appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Patel. And Madam Chair, that's all the questions I have at this time.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Hirsch. Vice Chair Berliner, did you have your?
I did, thank you. So, and then I see you, Commissioner Esquivel. I see you. So, hi, thank you so much. I have one question. Well, I have one question for Seamus and then Mr. Patel. It's sort of a joint question, if you will. So, I know that you guys should be providing EV spots because you're renovating the lot. But my question is, do you have to only provide EV charging based on the number of spots that you're renovating? And that would be for Seamus. And then I have another question for Mr. Patel. Does that make
Commissioner
sense?
Blenner, you have that correct. It's for the EV chargings 1 per 5 is based off the parking stalls that are new or are being renovated or redone, restriped. So in this instance, there's some area in the back which is being restriped, and the EV charging requirement will be based off of that.
Okay. And so then, Mr. Patel, how many spots do you plan on adding back there? I'm a really big proponent of EV charging. And so, especially at hotels and places where people will park overnight. So in order to help, meet California's ambitious climate goals, I'm very much pro electric and building up that charging infrastructure that we need so badly.
So answer to that specific, I do not know any exact number of the EV charger, but definitely we will at least, there's not much demand at this moment, but it is a trend, it's coming, and definitely we can work with that.
And then my second question for you is, and this will be my last question. So I do appreciate the logs that you provided. It's about 6 months of parking. And I did notice that it appeared as though, based on the documents that we got from as part of this item, that the occupancy in fiscal year 2018 and 2019 was fairly high compared to what it was in fiscal year 19-20, and part of that is due to the pandemic. But has there ever been a case where there hasn't been enough parking given with the 55 spots that you have current, or 54 spots you have currently?
No, we have not.
Okay.
Even in a busy time, actually, it's other way around because there was more people are coming together as a team. So sometimes they just share. They are even coming from airport, like maybe 6 or 7 groups people come, but they just have 1 car or 2 cars. So actually, when we are busy, we have a more parking space available.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited to see this part of almost West Capitol Ave be updated and renovated. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you.
And so I saw Commissioner Escobar. I think you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Free version of Zoom here. I also have 2 questions, one for staff and one for the applicant. And so my question to the staff is just, I'm trying to get a better understanding of the discrepancy between the parking required and the parking provided. I know it's broken down into existing and proposed, but just kind of wanting to get a better understanding of why what's being provided is not what's being required.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the main reason why we're here tonight is the site is fairly small. There's already an existing hotel, and I don't know if the applicant wants to get into it, but they're required to expand to maintain their franchise agreement, and in order to expand, that's more hotel rooms, and there really is not enough room on that site to accommodate more parking. So if we were going off of the zoning code requirements, which is a citywide document, it's kind of a one size fits all. But we're looking at this at a more specific site that would be a one parking stall per guest room. Now, as the applicant has provided that parking analysis, and as we're digging into it tonight, and the reason why staff is supporting it, the request tonight, is the applicant has shown that they don't need to provide as many parking stalls as the zoning code requires. So as was mentioned previously, a lot of the other urban areas in the city, only 0.5 stalls are required per guest room. So that would meet, they're meeting that requirement. If you were to go just a few blocks over along West Capitol Avenue, the zoning over there is a mixed use corridor, which requires 0.5 parking stalls per guest room. So if you're looking at the specific site, staff is recommending the PD permit for the reduced parking.
Yeah, and the commission with the PD overlay has the ability to look at this a little more granularly than just what the rote zoning code says. And I think, as Seamus alluded to, the expansion that's being proposed is to allow for an extension of the franchise agreement that the applicant has presently. And he's had that franchise agreement, this whole time. And I know that there's pretty rigorous qualifications that the franchising entities provide to keep their what they call flag on the hotel. So from staff's point of view, we've had a long standing goal of trying to upgrade and improve our lodging offerings in our community, and to try to keep higher end flags that have national reservation systems, provide at least some amenities to the business community, things of that nature. So in this case, the two things are sort of interrelated, whereas if the expansion is to proceed, some parking would need to be sacrificed because there's just not room to do both. So it's kind of a little bit oddly shaped parcel. I don't recall if this one was specifically impacted by the Harbor Boulevard interchange project, where some additional right-of-way was acquired by Caltrans, some years ago when the interchange was done. So in the intervening years, the parcel's actually gotten a little bit smaller. So that's sort of the essence of why we're here, and what the PD and plan developments are really all about is it allows for some different standards, if there's a bigger gain to be realized, but for following, that wouldn't happen if you were to follow the basic standards. So in this case, as James mentioned, we are supportive of this effort because in our view, there is a larger gain to be had here.
Thank you. So my question for the applicant is, I appreciate the letter. I think it provided some background information for us to have a better understanding of your expansion. And as I was also looking at the logs and looking at the occupancy, I'm curious as to if you have any other reasons to share why you're looking at an expansion. I also appreciate the understanding that this is part of the franchise agreement, and I think I'm very much supportive of making sure that whatever agreements need to take place to try to keep you here can be considered, and appreciate the contributions in terms of the taxes that have been brought to our city as well. So aside from that understanding, are there any other expansion reasons that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think 20 years ago, I when we dealt with David, the 55 rounds at that time was okay, but now business thing has changed, and now the scale is very important. So adding 18 rooms, it gave us a very good balance. And then sometimes the business people comes Monday to Thursday. Sometimes we have to overflow to downtown Sacramento or downtown Davis. So it does make sense. You have to have a scale in order, because there are certain fixed costs. It will be fixed, no matter if you have 25 rooms or 95 rooms. So adding 18 rooms, the scale, it will make a big difference, and it will be benefit to the city transient tax also. And so the operation cost, it will make a big difference too.
Thank you.
It looks like Commissioner DeAnda.
Great, thank you. I think most of my questions were answered with Commissioners Hirsch and Berliner's questions, but I did just want to make a couple of comments. Am I correct? We've talked about the expansion and the reasons for that, and I'm looking at the site plans in the agenda packet. Am I correct in that you're also adding a pool and spa? Is that part of this?
That's correct. I like to have that. So especially on a weekend, we can attract the leisure customers, because sometimes we have the school teams comes over there for the soccer,
sure,
or volleyball or whatever to play here in Sacramento, and sometimes there's a demand for weekend, and weekend we are slow, especially Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that will give us a good reason to put we used to have a spa, but instead of spa, we took it out and we expand the lobby, which is we spent almost $250,000 in last year. And I think Brian had the opportunity to take a look at today. It's turned out excellent. And we also had the fitness room on the 4th floor, all glass, overlooking the whole city of West Sacramento. And so we are very, very proud to add those things. Last year, it was a little pain, but it turned out nice, beautiful.
Well, that's great.
If you guys have a chance, I'm inviting to see if you guys can come take a look, and I can definitely give you a tour of what we did.
That sounds great, and I commend you for through this expansion creating a better experience for your guests. Also wanted to commend the staff for their flexibility. Certainly, right now in this COVID economy, businesses are struggling, and so I appreciate the flexibility in approaching this pragmatically with some of the issues that we talked about regarding the parking and the FAR. So kudos. I'm supportive.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lockhart.
Mr. Patel, thank you for doing business in our city for two decades. I know that's no easy feat, and I certainly appreciate all that you've done for our city. My only question is about when there is high occupancy, and the report said that there will be valet style parking for guests, and I was wondering where those cars might be placed.
I think Josh, my architect, will answer better technically than me. Josh?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Josh Divelbis. I'm the architect on the Holiday Inn Express project. And specifically, the existing parking under the building is half submerged, and it's not visible from the street. So we would consider placing the valet parking in that area so that it's not visible from the public right away.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions from the commissioners? So I think all my questions were answered as well. Commissioner Lockhart took my last question, so covered that for me. So I think with that, we will close the public hearing and take it to the commission for deliberation. So yeah, any comments, thoughts from the commissioners?
I think this is a great project. I think this is a great project, and helping expand tourism in West Sacramento is one of the city's goals. So I'm fully on board, and would like to move this item, but I will let everyone else talk first.
I just wanted to say, to comment real quick, that seeing the property in person and seeing the amazing shape that this property is kept in for being 20 plus years old, it was proud. I was proud to see that we have an option for folks on both transit travelers and those that come to our city on a regular basis to have a place like that to stay. And I think to an earlier point made, that West Sac can accommodate overflow out of downtown, especially being so close to a large government town is a great option. And I think the applicant has done a great job of identifying all of the concerns. I had some concerns on the parking overflowing onto Evergreen because of the high amount of big rig and commercial truck, transit down that thoroughway. And so I'm a big supporter of this project as well. Thanks.
Chair Sablon, if I can add, since I don't have the raise hand function, but I just want to echo, Commissioner Steger, what he just said and what a lot of my fellow commissioners have said. I think it's commendable what the applicant has done with the property for the last 20 years, and especially when it comes to the conditions and findings that staff have listed for us in the report. It's notable to emphasize that it's a great use of the property and it brings benefit to the city. So I'd like to second Vice Chair Berliner's motion that the commission find the proposed project is exempt from CEQA for the listed reasons and approve the requested PD permit subject to the conditions and findings identified in the staff report.
Okay, we have a second. Commission Clerk, can you please do the roll call vote?
Commissioner Escobar?
Aye.
Commissioner Hirsch?
Aye.
Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
Commissioner Steger,
Aye.
Commissioner Berliner,
Aye.
Commissioner Deanda,
Aye.
Chair Sablon.
Aye. So the motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Patel, and great
Thank you
job.
so much.
And with that, we'll move to the last item on the agenda, informal discussion.
I'd like to wish Commissioner Hirsch a happy birthday. I hear his birthday was a few days ago. Yeah, that's what I got for you.
You would have heard correctly, Vice Chair Berliner. Thank you. Again, I don't have that raise hand feature, but I was going to speak up, Chair Sablon, just for informal discussion. If we could make a request, I would love to request of staff, if it's possible for future meetings, to maybe agendize and present as an information item, just a backgrounder about the city's general plan, perhaps, and the zoning ordinance to help catch some of us newer planning commissioners up to speed, especially as we, get to longer, more complex projects in the future.
No, we absolutely can do that. And I'll look for meetings when we're not, super heavy with projects, so that we have a little bit of time to go over that, and we don't, that stuff is, as much as is exciting to me, I know probably by 8 or 9 o'clock, it might be a lot less exciting for everyone. So we'll look for those opportunities over our next, handful of meetings. Probably not next time, because I know next time we'll have 3 or 4 projects, but probably maybe one of our April meetings, we can do a little general plan and zoning, 101. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, and I think along those lines, Mr. Tilley, if you have any thoughts on info items that would be good for the commission to hear, I think that would be good. You are the expert in all this, so
I'm okay.
What you think we need to know would be helpful.
Well, yeah, and I'll be looking for other resources for the commissioners to look at, offline. There's a lot of different materials and trainings that are out there that are specific for planning commissioners, as well. So we'll relay as much of that as possible, but I'm more than happy to agendize an item, provide some discussion on that. I believe there's also going to be another training set up for all commissioners regarding, I think Andreas helped me out here. I think that may be addressing Brown Act and things, thinking more of the legal stuff that's important as well. I'm not sure.
I think the city manager's office is working on that. And if nothing materializes from that, then we can certainly pick it up separately just for the planning commission.
Yeah, because it's especially important for the planning commission, given that you hold hearings and make decisions, things like that, where most of the other commissions are more of an advisory nature. But if commissioners, do think about a certain topic they might want to know more about, I'm happy to put something on the agenda for you. So, general plan and zoning sounds like a great place to start. But if there are other topics that you think of along the way, just, let me know, and my staff and I can agendize something, and we can have a good informative discussion about, any topics that are really germane to our business here at the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Tilley. If there's nothing else, I think we can adjourn now.
Motion to adjourn. Not for me. But...
So moved.
Oh. Motion to adjourn.
We don't need a roll call this, right? We can.
You don't even need a motion.
Okay.
Just adjourn the meeting.
Right, withdrawn.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.